views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try.
Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever. Welcome to my show. It's called Patty's Page. And I have a special guest, my co-host from other shows, Terry Doran.
Hello, Patty.
Welcome to my show today.
Thank you very much.
So what are we going to chat about now? The experience of what?
An epic adventure on the river, which
Maumee River.
Maumee River.
Maumee. Maumee?
I was privileged to be one of the 4 filmmakers on the trip.
Yeah.
This was from April 18th. It started in Junk Ditch here in Fort Wayne, a little ditch, which was very difficult to navigate because there's very little water and a lot of debris and so forth.
That's why they call it.
Yeah, and about a dozen people canoed the entire journey from starting at Junk Ditch, which came out, the Maumee starts at 3 Rivers there, and ends in Toledo in Lake
Ohio?
Erie, Toledo, Ohio, 141 miles. I think we started the 18th and ended the 26th Saturday in Toledo. On the way, the New Haven, Woodburn, everywhere the Maumee went, Napoleon, Ohio, Defiance, Ohio, Grand Rapids, Ohio, and Perrysburg. And I canoed one day, so I really wasn't one of the canoers. But as I said, about a dozen people of all ages did the entire trip, including the leader, Abby King, who was on your show. Abby was fantastic. She pulled all this together, had the nerve to do it. I think a little bit craziness helped too.
Well, the rest of the people
pulled it off. Nobody got hurt. Nobody fell in. I think the only people who flipped were guides, river experts on the next to last day. Right at the end, it was shallow water.
Oh, thank God. Was it cold weather?
Some of the days was cold, some were warm. It's April.
Oh, yeah.
You get mixed weather. I was very lucky because my friend Bill White is a pretty experienced camper. He had a big tent and a cot, and some mats to put on the cot. I provided some pillows, and the most valuable player on the trip for me was Mr. Heater. Thanks to Bill, he had a propane heater called Mr. Heater, and that kept us warm. And Bill and I was the oldest. Bill's probably the next oldest. And the youngest was a 12-year-old boy.
Oh, boy.
He canoed most of it, if not all of it. Eric here at Access Fort Wayne canoed the entire trip. Bill canoed one day. Bill's an expert canoer.
How'd you get up there?
Well, I've known Abby, and last year your husband Bob and I taped her annual Earth Day event. We taped interviews with people there, and from there she invited me to go on the trip with Eric was one of the filmmakers, Justinian another one, and then a part-time was Tim, who couldn't make the entire trip because of work obligations. I was pretty much doing land interviews and footage.
So you didn't go by Canoe, you went
I went some, but mostly land.
by car.
Yeah. Well, yeah, to get from place to place,
Yeah.
I went by car. It's an enormous undertaking because, when you say canoed the trip, you
Right.
think, well, the canoers get most of the publicity. She got some nice coverage, the Toledo paper, Fort Wayne papers along the way.
Yeah.
But what you don't see is all the people behind the scenes, so to speak, that are putting all the canoers' luggage into a big cart, and then you got to haul it to the next site, so they have all their gear, tents, etc. Obviously, they aren't driving; they're canoeing. There's not much room in a canoe. Then people like Jane Young, her husband David Green, their son Rowan. David and Rowan, I'm pretty sure, canoed the entire trip. And it was a very nice family, father-son connection right there. Jane cooked, but she did more than cook. Lydia, Kara, a gentleman named John that came all the way from Oklahoma, cooked. And when I say cook, they had to have portable cooking stoves and
Gas, propane.
and all that. And they had to set it up every morning and then tear it down, do the dishes, just like at home, and then put all that stuff in a trailer and haul that to the next site and then do it all over again the next day. And the canoes, when they went from point A to point B,
Right.
they had to be picked up if
Portage?
point
Did you
B
portage?
wasn't going directly to point C. So there's a lot of hauling and transporting. As I said, behind the scenes, a lot of people involved. Probably at any total of 50 people probably were involved in this trip. Now, all 50 weren't there every day. I'm talking about people that we met, like Defiance had Earth Day on a Tuesday.
Right.
So there were all those people. We had a lot of different speakers come in. Some in remote areas, you wonder
How'd
how
they
they
get
even
there?
found it. Yeah. Had a Buddhist monk on Easter, came out and gave everybody a blessing, a happy trip, healthy trip, safe trip. And every night, the camp was on the Maumee River. Beautiful,
beside,
beautiful
not on it.
scenery.
Sorry,
Beautiful
bad
setting.
joke. But I know you took some film of it. Are we going to be showing any of it?
And I want to say before we do that it's all volunteer. Nobody got paid.
Right.
Just an incredible achievement, and that's part of what I want to talk about and what I'm planning to make a documentary on.
Right.
Is this camaraderie, this community, sense of community, the spirit that was there, and contrast that with what I consider to be American values, this selfishness, greed, the power people. You hear all about the 1%. Just
Want to know who
hogging all the money, all the
corporations and
resources,
stuff.
polluting the environment.
Yeah.
The river obviously is a tremendous asset to the human race.
Right.
I mean, the trip was to clean it up.
Right.
As one canoer told me in a brief interview with him, I said, "What's your main impression of your 7 or 8 days on the river?" And he said, and I quote, "The consistency of trash." Trash starting in Fort Wayne all the way to Toledo. The day I was out, we had Rowan and Abby's son found a big garbage can just on the bank, and they hauled that into their canoe, a perfect symbol of the
Garbage can.
Yes, of the
there any
wreckage of the river. And of course, individuals do this. They throw
Stuff.
stoves. I mean, you find everything in there.
Mattress.
Mattress,
Oh,
you name
gee.
it, tires. But even worse than individuals, of course, are corporations that dump all their
Chemicals.
poison and chemicals and manure, these animal farms that breed
this
animals
seeps
for us
into
to
the
eat.
river.
Yeah, it steeps into the river. And I had a wonderful interview with, wonderful in the sense of she was so articulate and informative, but bad in sense of what she was talking about,
Right.
which are these companies just throwing this crap, literally crap, into the river, and how the politicians in Ohio are
Right.
paid off by the big companies.
That's kind of hard to prove, isn't it?
And this is typical of so much of American values for money over people, you know. So anyway, that being said, one of the great days I spent on the river with Bill and Lydia, well, 2 days. Bill went to he was raised Catholic. He went to he had trouble accepting Catholic doctrine.
Right.
Therefore, he was branded incorrigible.
Oh.
Just because he
Bill White?
questioned, he didn't question stuff.
Yeah.
So his parents loved him. They were very staunch Catholics, and they felt, along with the bishop or priest, whatever, that he needed something to heal him, cure him.
Oh.
So in the 8th grade, Bill was sent to this school, and I forget the exact name, Nazareth School of Boys. Anyways, a Catholic elite school. It wasn't a school for punishment. Most of the kids who went there, and they were all boys, grades 3 through 8, were sons of wealthy people who sent them there for an elite education.
Right.
But a foundation of that education was military, marching, uniforms, every morning, 6 a.m., chapel. From chapel, they marched in cadence, you know, hut 1, 2, hut 1,
So
down to the dining hall. And as it turns out, this school, which closed in 1982.
here in Fort Wayne?
No, it's in Grand Rapids, Ohio, a tiny town on the river, charming town, actually outside of Grand Rapids, but excuse me, it sits on a hill across from the river.
Yeah.
As I said, it closed in 1982. It was vacant for about 10 years. A company bought it, remodeled it, and it's now a like they have wedding receptions, banquet hall, but very fancy. Well, excuse me. Bill wanted to go back. This was it was in the 60s, I think 1963, the year, I believe. Anyway, it's in the 60s. He's in the 8th grade.
We're going to be showing a video then?
And he hadn't been back since. So yeah, we can play this video and I'll talk over it. This is video shot at the reception hall. You'll see here, now we're just pulling up. And my first thought, I saw this school, I forgot he told me it was a reception hall.
Oh, was it a reception hall?
I was thinking it was deserted, so I was expecting this abandoned, rundown building, and it just took my breath away. It's gorgeous, as you can see. It just glowed. It was sunny that day, and it just glowed up there on the hill.
Lovely.
And for Bill, it was very emotional because he had not been back there since he left.
How long? Oh.
50 years ago,
my
over
gosh.
50 years ago.
Oh, my, yeah.
And obviously he's here, you know, and he would never have been here were it not for the river trip. And now you're seeing some of the inside, and a lot of it is the same. I mean, it's all been spruced up and painted,
That's Bill right
carpet, and that's Bill right there. Wonderful man. Just he said he went to this school. He was sent to this school to be a soldier, to be obedient, and he left an anti-war activist. I love that line. This is obviously a big dining room area. It's a gorgeous place. I mean,
Yeah.
I talked to several people who got married there or whose daughter got married there. I talked to a girl that worked at one of the pizza, well, not one, the pizza joint in town. She
Nice.
said her dream is to get married there.
Oh,
And what was interesting about the whole trip is that this visit, that he did not like the military, he did not like the marching, he did not understand the doctrine of the school. You see, we're just going down the hallways, and the lockers are still there, and now you're going to see what was a classroom. So you can see the blackboards,
oh yeah.
and they put carpet and all that, but see the blackboards, those were the classrooms. The lockers are there. It was an amazing visit for me. I felt honored to be part of that visit. It was so meaningful to him. And at the time he was there, he was reading a book that everybody is familiar with, The Diary of Anne Frank.
Oh,
Anne Frank
yes, I
was
remember that
13
book.
years old when
Yes,
she
ma'am.
wrote that diary,
Where was this, in
hiding in an
Poland?
attic in a house in Amsterdam from the
Amsterdam.
Nazis.
Yeah.
Bill was 13 years old in the 8th grade. He read that book and he thought, I'm like a soldier. I'm like a German soldier looking for Anne Frank, and that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like
Well, where
the
he was brought
religion
up, yeah.
should be about. Why are we in marching, and why do we have guns? Of course, they weren't shooting the guns, but they had guns.
But they're
Punishment
yeah.
was to be sent by yourself to walk around the gym in cold weather, outside if it was nice, for a couple hours, just marching, holding the gun, marching, holding
Yeah.
marching. And if they caught you loafing, they'd add another half hour to it.
So
And so he questioned, how is this keeping with Jesus talking about peace and love,
Well,
being soldiers?
not every religion's gonna. I was Roman Catholic myself.
Yeah, my mother was. Her aunt was Roman Catholic that raised her, and my mother was raised in the Catholic Church.
I'm Lutheran now, and we're peace. We're peaceful. We don't talk about fighting, but we do talk about activities that's happening around this world, and how we can be able to bring peace to everybody, for everybody, praying for them. We don't. I can't really compare Roman Catholicism with Lutheran, but we don't think the same way.
Well, I'm talking about his experience, and I hope I'm relating it accurately.
Yeah.
From what he told me. And he got in trouble 2 weeks before graduation, and the nun, all the teachers were nuns.
Mm-hmm.
The basketball coach was male. They had a retired, I think, like Army colonel who did the marching drills with them. And Bill was put in the office, which the office is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And now, of course, it's used by the company. And they were very nice. The company let us go into the school, as you saw, and look around.
Yeah.
And they said it was okay to tape. And there was a little museum area, cabinet where they had pictures of kids in the uniform from when they actually were in school there. And
It's a different era than it is now, isn't it?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, in those days, they were more regimental in those days, many moons ago. when he was growing. Do they have that now? They have military schools?
Well, when I was at IU, you had to take ROTC, which is
is it still
military
happening?
training.
I think it's still
No, they
happening.
got rid of that. That's one good thing that came out of the Vietnam protests.
Right.
They got rid of mandatory ROTC for state colleges. I hated it, every minute of it, marching around in uniforms.
But you're not that. But it's really not that way now. Except in private schools, or no?
Well, this was a private school, yes, a prep school, and Bill is locked in the office. Probably they're going to expel him. Now, he did graduate. They gave him his diploma because he had good grades. Yeah. He had trouble with the contradiction of peace-loving religion versus being a soldier, so to speak. And he didn't want to be a soldier. And now he's a very strong anti-war activist, to his everlasting credit. So he's in the office, and the window, there's a window, and there's a board there with keys on a hook.
Mm-hmm. What did he do?
He says, well, they made it too easy. He takes the keys, opens the window, gets in the company car, and drives away. For a whole, yeah. He was raised on a farm, so he knew how to drive a car. So he was gone for a year. At the age of 13 and 14.
Wow.
One whole year, until he was finally picked up. And he said the police were nice to him.
Yeah.
I think he was picked up in Illinois, brought him to Fort Wayne. His mother was so happy, and his father too. So happy to see him. He was afraid to face them because they sent him there not for punishment, but because they thought it was the best thing they could do for him. So and they had to take out loans, you know. I mean, it was a financial hardship.
Right.
And as I said, most kids there were sons of wealthy people, and so it was a different experience. But anyway, I thought it was a great story, and in the documentary what I want to do is contrast that military training, which is still permeates American culture.
Yeah.
America just invades, I think they've invaded 52 countries since World War II. The most recent, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, and so I want to contrast that with this beautiful spirit of these people on the river. Everybody cooperated, everybody helped each other, everybody was united in the goal of saving the Maumee, cleaning up the Maumee. And yes, the Maumee is one river, but it's a symbol of all the way that human beings need to view our earth, our planet. It's our home.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, you know, we're going to do another show talking more about the Maumee trip. Is there anything you'd like to say now before we can do another show about this, just to close this half hour?
Well, it was a tremendous experience. It's a whole different world. You know, we were only, even Toledo's, 120 miles or so from Fort Wayne. It just felt like I felt like I was on a different continent even. I'm not used to camping. All the campsites were beautiful. A couple were on private property that people let us use their
that was nice.
land. Yeah, and I was just so touched by the attitude, the caring spirit of everybody. You know, you had all kinds of people. I'm sure all religions represented. All ages, backgrounds, probably income levels, and yet it was just people cooperating, which I feel is what human beings need to do, should do, why we're put on this earth in the first place is to care about each other.
Care about the...
Not exploit each other, exploit the land, but care about each other.
Care about the world and everything in it.
Exactly.
And now's a good time to say, we're going to have him on another show, eh? Talk more about the Maumee experience. So this is Patty Hunter saying, till next time, we're going to have this dude on there.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Pat.
You're welcome.
That show's over already?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Terry Doran, my special guest and my co-host, as usual. He's been my co-host for how long?
A
couple of years,
since you started, practically.
So
and you're
thank
still
you.
on the air, amazing.
I was still on the air.
With me as your co-host.
Anyways, I'd like to thank you. I'll see you next week and have a good time, eh? Love you.
Godspeed, my love.